Okay, guys, you can all use this QR code to sign into the event, please. Hermes, why you look so so drippy, bro? Are you trying to impress him? Oh, there he is. Okay. Wait, a couple minutes. All right, that's fine. Yeah, if you want to say anything for them to sign up now. Oh yeah, I already said it. But yeah, you guys can continue to sign in. Whoever just walked in, please use the scan the QR code to sign in, please.
Welcome, everyone. Glad to have you all around. As we indoctrinate all of you into Java, this is the first course. We had a first one last Wednesday, but today is going to be another session. Stay tuned.
Oh yeah, so I'm saying I think everybody's already there. I think it's fine, unless there's a particular reason why they're I'm okay with that. I'm not sure. Either way, it's fine.
It might seem more open if we
Oh, true. Yeah, I mean, there is. Yeah, you can talk. But then when it's your turn, you email me from here, right? Where's the camera? The camera's pointing this way.
So it doesn't link to the invite? Yeah.
You mean for the slides, like we don't come up and then we talk? Because that's also got this. If people want to hear what we do.
Yeah, but here we have for the live stream, we need to have the little mic here. Look, so wait, where is it?
Oh, the lapel mic.
Yeah, I don't know where it is now. Yeah, so when you talk, you're gonna have to hold it like that.
Yeah, just try to hold it as close as possible. You're gonna start. Here we sent out the announcement of the live stream, so you should start like in the next 2 minutes. Let me know so I can
Yo,
change
Hermes?
it. Yeah, Hermes.
Change. Oh, to what?
Yeah, to
Okay.
to this. Okay, there. You already have it.
Okay, so it's better.
Just one second.
Yeah, so same.
No.
Yeah, just wanted to let you know when you talk, you're gonna have to hold them like that because this one is for the live stream.
Okay.
So,
Okay, sounds good. I go after Natasha.
yeah.
Oh, so
And then
we'll all sit separately.
Yeah, you can say whatever you want.
And then we come up.
Yeah, come up. And then be in front of the camera as much as possible.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay. I understand.
All right, now seems like a good time to start. Oh my. Oh well. At least you guys heard me. So anyway, where were we? Long story short, an internship is an opportunity to work at a company over the summer, unless you apply to a fall or spring internship. Those are a little more rare, but yeah. So most internships are going to be over the summer, and they're going to be paid. So don't worry. Although there are some internships that are not paid. We're not going to talk much about that. We're not going to go into depth, but what I will say to you guys is try your best to go for a internship that is paid. Challenge yourself to go for a paid internship. The good part about this is that most internships are actually paid. If you're like really, really desperate, you can go for an unpaid internship, but I guess the only benefit is like getting some kind of experience. Yeah, there you go. Experience. It's always worth it, getting yourself out there. But yeah, so you're going to be getting paid at an internship, but more importantly, you're going to be learning skills that you most likely won't learn in any class unless you're at like some Ivy League school, maybe. Well, even then, you still probably won't learn, right? Because you're going to be learning in class, you learn like basic computer science fundamentals, and that's good. But for example, when you take programming 1 and 2, you're learning object-oriented programming, but they don't teach you about like what you could do with Java, which is the language they teach. They don't teach you about backends and APIs and Android development. But at an internship, you get the chance to work at a company that actually puts out products into the tech industry. You learn real software development skills, and you're not going to learn that in a class. So you get paid. You get to learn while you get paid to learn, basically, because since you're still an intern, you're a student, you don't have the same responsibility as like a full-time software engineer. So you do have some responsibility. You'll be working on actual products, but you won't have to worry too much about messing up because they don't expect that much out of you. They won't give you like a super important job. Except for sometimes, like there was this thing that happened to a Google intern, I guess, recently, like a week ago, and they messed up the subscription thing on YouTube, and it looked all like funky. Yeah, the subscribe button was like in the middle of covering the channel name. I know some of you guys saw that. It was pretty funny, but hopefully he got the return offer. Anyway. Oh yeah, speaking about that, so yeah, the last thing I wanted to say about why you would want an internship is for the return offer. Now, guys, you can't exaggerate how important return offers are, because once you get a return offer, you basically secured your future after graduating. Let's say you got a internship somewhere, and maybe it's not like your dream company, but it's a pretty good company. Like maybe you got an internship at like Chase, for example. Okay, JP Morgan Chase, it's a bank, but it's also sort of a fintech company. If you do well enough, they'll give you a return offer to intern the next summer. And then once you're about to graduate and you can't intern anymore, they'll give you a full-time offer. So even if you want to go for something better, like you want to go for a top company like Google or Apple or something, if you already got an offer somewhere, you basically secure the bag, because you don't have that worry in the back of your mind of like, what am I going to do once I get out of school? You won't have that uncertainty in the back of your head. So that brings me to talking about where you should apply. So where to apply, there's a lot of resources online that will give you huge lists. Maybe some of you have heard of Pitt CSC, that's University of Pittsburgh Computer Science Department. They have a repo on Discord. We could send you guys, we could post the link to that on Discord later. We probably already have, but we'll send it again. You can Google different lists of where to apply. But when deciding what companies you want to apply, I would say just apply everywhere to as many companies as you can. If you are going for maybe your first internship, try going for, well, you could try going for big tech companies if you want, but try to also focus on like the little ones that might be easier to get. Like banks are way easier to get than like Google, for example. You can go apply to like State Farm, and I've heard their interviews are like they're really easy. I know one guy over here did a interview with them. And then yeah, so apply everywhere and apply often. And when it comes to the types of internships you'll get, well, most of the internships you'll... Oh, yeah. They are. But thanks anyway. Yeah, so generally when you go for an internship, it's going to be a software engineering internship. That's going to be the case for most of you guys. But under that, there are different specializations like web development, mobile development, maybe machine learning, or program management. That one's a little different. And so program management, it's a less technical role, but it's still kind of technical. You're going to be in charge of the flow of a project. And then there's cybersecurity, which we're going to talk a little bit about that later, or at least the interview process, because we have a speaker who hasn't done their internship yet, but finished the interview process with Amazon. And, well, within the general area of tech, there's actually a lot of applications you'll fill out that'll just say, like, tech internship. And so then I guess you can sort out the differences. Like, is it going to be an IT role? Maybe you don't want to go for that. Maybe you want to go more for, like, actual software development. But, yeah, so those are the different types of internships. There is definitely a lot more detail to that, but it generally falls under the umbrella of software development. There's also stuff like game development, maybe, or UI, UX. You have to be good at Adobe and Figma and all that. And today, the speakers we have here are going to be talking about the types of internships they've done or are going to do. And yeah, now I'd like to invite our first speaker, Nat, to talk about when you should apply to internships and say a little bit about what she's done so far. Hold it like that. Just for the live stream.
Hello, everybody. So I came here to answer the question, when should I apply? And the short answer is right now. So applications started a little bit ago, depending on the company, but most of them are rolling or some still have a long deadline. Usually they are applied for in fall. Like, for example, in my personal experience, Amazon has rolling admissions, so they're going to be open until all the positions are filled. Versus, for example, companies like Microsoft, they have a strict deadline in which until they can accept applicants. So it really does depend on that. There are some companies that accept in spring, but that's mostly not the case. It's usually in fall because most internships happen during summer, which they prefer because you have the chance to not take classes or maybe be a little more free, and I've heard from a lot of people who have done internships already that they really advise you that if you can to put out your classes and like dedicate your whole time to the internship, because it is at the end of the day a full-time job. You do work 40 hours a week, which it's a full-time job. So they really recommend that you organize your time that way. So as I had mentioned, I applied for Amazon. I do security engineer. I'm a cybersecurity student. And I still have not started. I was already accepted, but I'm starting during summer. And yeah, later, guys, you can ask me everything you want to know about what's happening or how it's going to work or what's the idea that Amazon has for its interns. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Natalia. Now we're going to be talking about, first of all, how to get an interview, and then eventually how to get ready for the actual interview. So yeah, first I want to invite our president over here to talk a little bit about how to stand out and get an actual interview in um, whatever position you're going for. Hermes is going to talk about that, and then Azar as well.
Okay, thank you so much. Hold it like this. All right, all right. You can hear me well? Yes? Perfect. So yeah, I'm Hermes Bonilla. I'm the president here, but most importantly, I have one small difference with all these tech internships. To give some backgrounds, I had an internship this past summer, but not in industry, which is the difference. There's a lot of benefits to industry. A big one is money. It's a lot more money. And the experience is more applicable if you want to do software. However, research, which is what I did, is very fulfilling. And there's its cons and pluses, which I can talk about. But let's talk a little bit about landing the interview. So I did not have to do an interview for research, but for industry, it is mandatory for almost every single position. If you want a big position, they're going to interview you both behaviorally, which means asking you questions about, for example, your strengths, your weaknesses, some situations that you've been in the past. But the very scary one is the technical interviews, which is the one where they ask you, okay, code this particular problem or find a solution, and then talk through it. Very daunting thing to do. But there are ways to get around that. Mainly, first you have to land the interview. And I think one of the main common misconceptions is that just doing well on your classes will get you an internship. Hate to break it to you, it's much more difficult. Just doing your classes is great. Having a great GPA is really great. But more importantly, they want to know how you'll do at their company, right? Because classes are not the same as creating products. So creating projects outside of school and joining orgs, I mean, you guys are already taking a really big step into this by being here. That makes you stand out. And there's stuff like, UP Spark Dev, some hackathons. Shell Hacks is coming up soon too. And obviously other internships and even jobs. You might think that having a job here, is not that important to include in your resume, but it is. It can often show more of your personal skills, how dedicated you are to something, that somebody will trust you enough to put you in a position here at FIU. Correct? And then, of course, having a strong resume, attend our resume roasts, get that resume polished so that you can just send it in. And, of course, being involved in a community, extracurricular. It could even be sports if you're doing sports. But if you're doing tech, you want to make sure that you have tech-related experiences. Yeah. And yeah, I can talk about the research stuff in a little bit. So stay tuned. Yep.
Thank you very much. It's good that he mentioned Shell Hacks. On the point of standing out and getting involved, something that you guys should all keep in mind as well is that there's going to be the technical career fair happening in around 2 weeks. So definitely go. It's actually going to be virtual, so you don't have to go anywhere. It's just going to be like Zoom meetings. Well, maybe not Zoom, I'm not sure, but it's going to be virtual meetings where you can actually schedule time with recruiters one-on-one, depending on the company. And yeah, the spots are actually already open for certain companies. There are going to be a lot of companies at the career fair, so make sure you sign up for that. And yeah, now to continue the point of how to stand out, how to build your resume, and how to get interviews, and then also to speak a little bit about how to prepare for interviews, we're going to have the one and only Java developer himself, Azar Ali.
Hello, everybody. How's everyone doing today?
Better now that you're here.
Yes, now the Java developer himself is here. So, hi everyone. Great to see you all.
So yeah, so let me go back. Just is that being reflected there? Perfect. So yeah, I'm here to talk about a little bit of what, everyone here, as you all raise your hands, you're all, you guys want an internship. You guys want a full-time offer. That's the end of the day, right? That's what we're all here for at the end of the day. So what do you need to do in order to get one, right? Well, first you kind of have to think about what the company wants, right? You're applying to a company and you want a job from them. But what is the company looking in return? They're looking for someone that can fulfill the role that they need. Someone that could be a part of their community and someone that could be a part of their team to launch their idea and to launch their product. So, and how exactly do you convey that to the employer? How do you convey that you will be a perfect match for them? Well, there are certain different ways that you can stand out to a recruiter, right? One main thing, which I believe was mentioned, is definitely going to be your resume. In your resume, you're going to want to focus on all of the top things that make you stand out. Of course, if you're standing out like a freshman or a sophomore, I know I got my first internship when I was a sophomore, and I barely had anything to bring up when I was a sophomore or freshman. So what are some things that you can talk about? Well, definitely, as Hermes mentioned, getting involved is one of the best ways to build your resume. That is definitely for sure. Getting involved in organizations such as UPE or our very own organization, GDSC, are great ways to get involved. You have access to all sorts of different projects, all sorts of different programs that you can get involved with. And you could, even if you're not really doing something specific, you could mention it, that you're an active member and you're learning in this field. So those are some things that you can do. Also getting involved in terms of getting hackathons, those are a great way to put projects on your resume. But the number one thing I think is that really I don't think is mentioned is, that you have to keep in mind in order to do all these things is to get outside of your comfort zone. Be comfortable with being uncomfortable, because, there's all of these sorts of opportunities, but if you on the back of your mind are telling yourself, right, like, oh, like I can't do this. Like this is beyond me. Like I'm not fit for this. I don't want to, I don't want to put in this kind of effort. Well, you kind of need to evaluate, what's your dream company, right? If you want to get into Google, you want to get into Facebook, all of these sorts of different companies, you have to be wondering to what extent will I be willing to put forth? How uncomfortable am I willing to get to where I want to be? Because, there's a reason all of these companies are paying 120K plus. Is because you have to get uncomfortable. You have to do the hard work in order to get there. So yeah, getting involved, doing hackathons, even if you don't have a team from the start, you will find a team. There's team matching programs that will get you to find a team. And even if you don't complete a project, that's perfectly okay. That's at least something that you could put on your resume, and it's something that you could talk about in the interview as well. But in order to get that interview, like Hermes had mentioned, you want to stand out. You want to be seen as like, a potential candidate that could fill that role, right? So that's a little bit of, things you guys should do. Yeah, strong resume, as was mentioned, projects, yeah, other internships and jobs. So I guess I could kind of speak about this a little bit. So I guess what I should speak about is, my own personal journey, because it's been a long journey to where I am right now. So I guess I haven't properly introduced myself. So yeah, hi, my name is Azar, and I'm a fourth year computer science and mathematics major here at FIU. In terms of internship experience, I've had a little bit. I guess up to this point, I've had about 4 or 5 internships, varying at different places. My first internship being actually with the school, and then my most recent internship being at Facebook this past summer as a SWE intern. And as soon as I graduate, I will be a full-time software engineer at Facebook. So what happened in the course of the past 4 years that got me to where I am right now, right? Well, yeah, so I started off as like a freshman, I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just kind of here. I was like, oh, cool, I have programming 1. I guess I'll learn how to program then, right? I don't know. I did a little bit of programming in high school, nothing really to be talked about. But yeah, after talking to some people, I also heard there was this organization called UPE. I was like, oh, cool. They seem, I need friends. I'm a freshman. I don't have any friends, So I'm going to go to that. And after talking to some people, and people who have had internships and jobs, you kind of slowly start to realize that, yeah, it's really, as was mentioned before, it's just doing school alone won't get you out there. Because think about it, right? Like I mentioned, you want to stand out. If you only do school, everyone is doing school. Everyone is taking the same courses that you're doing. So, yeah, if you just put only your school projects, if you only just have school, that's not going to make you stand out. That's not going to make a company think, oh, well, why don't I just choose this guy then? He has the same exact credentials. He's doing the same exact things. So, yeah, so that kind of hit me a little bit. So from early on, I wanted to, I guess, stand out a little bit. So I joined the UPE board, and then also got involved with SparkDev and other projects. So yeah, that's kind of what I was doing. And also, I'm also an international student as well. So, if you're an international student, you guys have a little bit of extra work ahead of you guys, because you guys have to stand out just a little bit more with all the visa sponsorships and everything. So that was also a very real reality for myself. So, yeah. So I saw I think in spring 2019 that the Honors College was having a free internship, or unpaid internship to do web development. I didn't know anything about web development or anything, but I was like, yeah, you know what? Sure, I'll just go for it. You know what? I'll just learn. I have no idea what I'm gonna get myself into, what the job requirements will be, or if I'm even be able to do it. I don't know, but at that moment, I was like, you know what? It's in order for me to get a paid internship later on, or maybe something I would prefer more. Maybe being uncomfortable right now is okay. And then maybe it might be something I want to do, because still when you're a freshman or maybe even to when you're a senior, you just don't know what you want to do as well. I loved so many different subjects, and then I just loved CS, just seeing how cool it was. I want to be like a hacker man, just do hacks. I didn't know what I wanted to do, mobile dev, game dev, AI or anything. So I did that internship. It was okay. Didn't really end up learning too much, but you know what? It's okay. I still put it on my resume, and I was able, excuse my language, but I was able to, in an interview, I was able to bullshit it enough, to make it sound like, I kind of really learned something. Yeah. So, and then also that's later summer, I also did kind of like another internship. It was AI related, but fast forwarding a little bit because the journey is kind of long. Yeah. So I had, the number one thing that I guess I kept trying to do, which is another thing I wanted to mention. There's so many things I want to tell you guys, but I think one of the main important things too, what you guys are doing here today, being around a group of people, I think the number one thing, networking also is really, really, really important. Getting to talk to people, and just learn from other experiences and stuff. That's a really good thing because you learn from other people, and you don't have to figure out yourself. You don't have to go through the trust and trials. You ask someone, hey, how was your internship experience and everything? And they can give you, a perspective. And also if they can give you a perspective on how it was. And it's also, if you're maybe looking to get into a field, AI, if you talk to, say, well, I don't know if anyone here does AI, but if you know someone that does AI, oh, Hermes, talk to Hermes, like, hey, Hermes, should I do, and Lazaro, yes, GigaBrain Lazaro, talk to GigaBrain Lazaro, and then he'll tell you a little bit about AI, and see, if it's the feel for you, So, but honestly, for me, that's, with networking comes connections, and connections ends up turning into referrals, and also getting to be a part of groups for like interview prep. It turns into resume reviews. It turns into so many different things. It turns into being a part of a community of people that want to help you. So that's another thing. Be uncomfortable. Get to talk to people, even if you're, let's be real, we're all CS students, It's a little difficult for us to communicate with other people, right? But if you make that effort to go talk to other people and to just ask questions even, you're going to get so much further than where you were originally. So be uncomfortable, okay? Yeah, I guess that's a little bit from me from now. I might talk a little bit later. And I would like to bring it up on my boy, Lazaro? Lazaro talking now? Yes, my boy, Lazaro Hurtado. My former VP, you know, bring him up to the stage.
That was awesome.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Hello, guys. Just before I start, just by show of hands, how many of you guys have learned something new already? Be honest. 2 hands from one person? Okay, cool. All right, nice. That's a lot of people. That's good. So kind of talking to what Azar said, networking and putting yourself out there, you get to learn these new things, and that could really push you ahead. So you're already making the right step. So my name is Lazaro. Hi. Hello. Hello. I interned at Microsoft as an Explorer intern my sophomore year, which I'll talk a little bit more about what that is. And now I'm returning. I was able to get the return offer, and I'm going to be returning to Microsoft this next summer as a software intern as well. But as you guys noticed or realized, I said Microsoft Explorer. If you don't know what that is, that's a special program for freshmen and sophomore students. For example, Azar did Facebook University, which is also the same program for Facebook. It's exclusive to freshmen and sophomore students, but that's just a great way to get yourself in there, because most of the times those technical interviews are a little bit easier, and it might just be pure behavioral. So if you find that range, look it up. I believe Twitter is doing one as well.
Twitter Academy, yeah.
Twitter Academy, they have a similar program, so try that out as well. So, okay, let's say you guys did that. Let's say you got an internship, and now let's not say you got the internship, but let's say they liked your resume and they reached out to you. Now you guys have to face several interviews. Sometimes it's be purely behavioral. It might start off doing a phone interview. This phone interview might be simple. They will ask you general questions. For example, one question they might ask you is, how would you explain the internet to a child? That's actually a question I've got asked before from a company I will not name. Could be any company out there. But it's things like that. They will ask you more behavioral questions, for example, like what are your weaknesses and strengths? And then if they like that, you might go into another stage where it will be technical. So, and these are usually the harder ones. Unless you really don't know yourself, then the behavioral ones you really struggle with, but you should be fine. You might struggle with the technical ones. To prep for this, there's a couple of amazing resources. For example, one of them here is LeetCode. This is it's a website that has pretty much a database of a whole bunch of technical interview questions, thousands of them. So if you grind that and you really understand the concepts behind them, you guys should be able to do good enough to potentially get the interview. Another one is mock interviews. This can help a lot because you might think if you can solve the question and they give you the exact same question, you instantly get it. It's usually much harder than that. Once you guys do get the interview and they ask you that question, you will be nervous. You will most likely forget. Everything will go out the door and you could get the question wrong. So you have to prepare yourself for this with someone else asking the questions and put yourself in that environment with mock interviews. Of course, something else is the competitive programming team, which is part of Google Developer Student Clubs. I am one of the tech leads. David is the other tech lead for that team. So if you guys want to learn about a couple of hard data structures and algorithms, join that team. Oh yeah, this is also a really good one. Research companies online for their interview process, and also research the questions they commonly ask. It's most likely out there on the internet, so might as well use it to your advantage and just search it up. You might get the one that you looked at and could help you out. Is there more to this? Yeah, there we go, cool. Now I want to add a little bit more to the resources. There's more than just LeetCode. You guys might have heard of other websites like HackerRank or Binary Search. Use all of them. You never know. They all put you, it's usually very different how you either need to handle the input or how you need to give the output or something like that. So try to use as many as possible to really bring up your skill. And something that I really want to stress while taking the technical interviews is that the first thing you should be doing is, or thinking, is you should be thinking as a problem solver. You shouldn't be thinking as what algorithm or what data structure. If you think like that, you will most likely fail in certain sections, because the answer isn't always an algorithm or a data structure. The answer might be, oh, you need to use more threads to compute or to add to your resources to solve this question or this problem. And that's not an algorithm. Technically it's not. That's not an algorithm or a data structure. That's just you knowing how to solve the problem. So you should be thinking in that level or in that way, rather than saying, do I need a stack? Do I need a queue? Or anything like that. If you think like that, you'll be able to solve all of them. If you only think of data structures and algorithms, you'll be able to solve a smaller subset of all the problems they can potentially ask you. Okay, so that's good. Let's say you did that. Let's say you used the right way of solving the problem. Should you stop there? You shouldn't. You should always go above and try to add more to it. Sometimes you can get better time complexities or space complexities by using a little bit more advanced data structures that you just couldn't program. For example, you might not be able to program a red-black tree. I don't think you can import it. I think in Java you could import, but it doesn't matter. Fenwick tree. It will be hard to program these things, but that doesn't mean that you should leave it out. You should still tell your interviewer, hey, what I did works, and it gives a pretty good time complexity, but it could be improved upon if I use this data structure that I'm not totally sure how to implement, or it would just take a long time for me to figure it out. You should always want to go above and beyond. That should always be your goal. You shouldn't stop at the bare minimum, or you shouldn't stop at the solution that you searched up online. Try to push yourself some more. If you do get stuck through any point in the process, just talk to your interviewer. It doesn't hurt. It really doesn't hurt. I've worked with someone that told me, hey, I wasn't able to solve the question my interviewer gave me, but I talked to them. I talked out my train of process and how I would solve it, and they gave me hints that pushed me in the right direction. And that was enough for them to get the actual job. I worked with them. So even if you don't know it, just talk. Giving you hints, if they give you like 1 or 2 hints, that's fine. That's not really going to hurt you. If they solve the whole problem for you, yeah, that's going to be bad. But most of the times, it doesn't really hurt you. So just talk through it, ask questions, and try the best you can. And of course, if you guys haven't taken a technical interview, they will ask you for the time and space complexity for your algorithm. So if you don't know how to do that, I recommend that you look at our videos for the competitive programming team. All right, so yeah, big day. Of course, arrive early. I always arrive 5 minutes early, because let's say your interviewer is also there 5 minutes early. That's perfectly fine. You guys can talk, and it might bring your nerves down, which would help you while you're actually writing out the algorithm or solving the technical interview. Yeah, as I said right there, interviews to work as a conversation. This is, if it's not technical, they will ask you about the company, a little bit about your skills, and then what you value or why you want to work for the company, which is also really important. Yeah, and try to communicate as much as possible. Okay, let's not go there yet. Other point, I'll give it back to him. So I talked a lot about technical. Has anyone here taken a technical interview? By show of hands? 1 person, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7? Okay. Okay, cool. So does that mean that everyone else hasn't had an interview, or they've taken behavioral only? Behavioral? Yeah. Behavioral, okay. All right, cool. So that was 1 person, but let's just pretend it was majority. So behavioral is a little bit easier, like I said. They're going to be asking questions about you, what you like to do. They will most likely ask about a question about one of the projects on your resume. When they ask you that question, there's 3 main things you want to know. You want to know, what did it accomplish? Why did you create the project in the first place? And what did it solve? I feel like one of those 2 are the same thing, but it's fine. Just know why you did the project, and in the end, what did it solve? They want to know what you got out of it. How did you become a better person through doing it? That's really important, of course. They're trying to see this because most of them will want to know how you reflect on your work and if you have any passion at all or if you're just doing things because you saw it on the internet. They want to know you have reason, of course. Apart from that, everything else is just to be about you, what type of person you are, strengths, weaknesses, why did you apply at the company, which always gets me. So think about that beforehand. And with this information, you guys should be good enough to be able to pass a behavioral or technical, but just know that it never stops. You could pass a technical, but you never know. Maybe 10 years down the line, you get fired or you quit because the company's views doesn't align with yours, so you want to leave the company. You need to always be constantly working on your skills because during your job, you might not be using all the data structures and all the algorithms out there, but you want to keep yourself up to date with them by always practicing. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Always keep yourself on your toes and don't give up. I believe in you guys. You're definitely making the first right step here. Thank you. Was that good enough?
All right, thank you so much, Lazaro. Yeah, guys, so getting internships is pretty important. I did mention earlier the thing about unpaid internships, that you should try to go for something better, but sometimes it can be your only option, and it does make you stand out. As you can see, our friend Azar is a fiend, and he did a lot of internships, and some that were unpaid. But yeah, guys, just keep in mind getting an internship is challenging. It's a long process, but if you work hard, the hard work is gonna pay off. And then yeah, now so that brings us to questions. So you guys can ask questions that are general, or if you want to know more about somebody's specific experience, you can ask questions to one of the speakers that came up here now. So yeah, guys, any questions? Any specific questions? Oh yeah, sure. You guys can go ahead and come up here.
You gonna pressure them to ask each and every single one of us questions?
You guys can sit down.
Well, if we have no questions yet, you might still be thinking about your questions. We can tell you a bit more about some of our backgrounds. So I'm gonna start with Manny because you haven't heard from him yet.
Oh yeah.
So
my shirt or?
you might want the mic now.
It's dead.
Oh, is that? Oh, you can still hear us, right?
Okay, so.
Stand up because the camera.
Okay. So hi guys, my name is Manny. I am the web dev tech lead, one of the co-leads for GDSC, and my experience was with Walmart. So initially I applied to Walmart and 30 other companies. I think it was the fall semester of this year, and I only applied to 30 companies because I was already late in the process. I polished my resume as much as I could, and I just sent it. I ended up getting an interview, which I can't really talk about it, but it's related to a coin, and I actually felt it. But during the process, I actually ended up showing one of my sketchbooks that I sketched a bunch of designs and ideas, and I showed it to my interviewer to show my dedication. It turns out that he actually had a book himself as well, and he was also a full stack developer. Then then I got when I felt the interview, I actually ended up using one of the best advices that I got from the director of Sam's Club, actually 2 weeks prior to my interview. And that was that even if you fail the interview, try to seek to actually to show persistency, and ask your interviewer for their LinkedIn and ask for 30 more minutes offline. No cheating, no tricks. You know, try to finish it and send it to LinkedIn. And to me, it worked. When I send my results, 30 minutes, at the 30-minute mark, I send my results. My interviewer said, I already submitted the decision. But because you show persistency and because you show that you're not going to take a no, you actually end up getting like a chance. And that's what happened to me. Now my internship process was very difficult. Prior to going into Walmart, I was a front-end web developer, and I had never done any back-end, and they put me into a back-end role where I had no idea what I was doing. And so I ended up doing a 12-hour course in one single day to catch up with the whole entire process. They hammered me down, they trained me, and now I can actually go into, now I can actually do back-end web development because of what I learned from Walmart itself. And the funny part was that I didn't get the job at first. I actually got rejected. But because of when I was showing my presentation, I ended up creating a perfect mock-up of the real product that looked exactly to the T, even the browser, every single detail. And I showed it to my boss's boss, like 3 levels up, right? And he asked me at the end of the interview, of the presentation, it's like, how do you know how to do this? And I told him, I've been practicing for years. This is what I'm good at. I'm good at front end. And he said, interesting. He kind of like left the conversation short, and he said, thank you for the presentation, and that's it. Turns out my manager put a great recommendation, but rejected me. Then the VP came in, slapped a second recommendation, and I got the job. And that was my experience. So I would like to give it to Azar. Where's Azar? Yeah.
My journey?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone have any questions?
So, okay, so prior to actually getting the interview, I had a meeting, a one-on-one meeting with one of the events that Handshake does. It was to speak with directors from big companies. And ironically, it was Sam's Club, which is owned by Walmart itself. And it was the director of software engineering from Sam's Club. And I had asked her personally, like, what's one advice that you can give me that you have that is not cookie cutter? And that's exactly what she told me. Even if you get a no, and even if you fail the interview, to me, she told me, like, from her perspective, she told me, even if you fail the interview and you are not able to complete the problem, if you show persistency, I might give you a shot. And that's exactly what I did. Anybody else? Nope. Anybody online?
Yeah. So you guys can hear me, right? More or less. I guess I'll continue a little bit of my journey, more or less. So, yeah, let's jump to. So I first started at FIU with fall 2018. Let's jump to fall 2019. So freshman year, I didn't really go for any paid internships. I didn't really know anything, like I mentioned. So screw for freshman year. Sophomore year, I was a little bit more on the ball, and I was on the interview grind. But I didn't really have any real kind of experience. I had done kind of some internships, nothing really to talk about, to be honest. But yeah, but thankfully like what Lazar had mentioned before, actually, I want to get a show of hands. Are any of you guys freshmen or sophomores? Any of you guys? Oh, wow. Amazing. So what I'm going to tell you guys is relevant. Okay. So the great thing, some companies, actually, some of these big companies, they have programs like Lazar had mentioned, that are perfect for freshmen, that are only actually specific for freshmen and sophomore students. So they're less intense than the actual internship, but they're legit internships at this company. So, and they're actively looking out for these for freshmen and sophomores, and especially for FIU, they really heavily recruit at FIU. Like for my year, when I did Facebook University, they took about 6 interns for the Facebook University program, and they had only accepted about 140 interns. So 1 over 23, about 5% of the interns were from FIU. So they are actively recruiting at FIU, because FIU is a huge diversity pool for all companies. So the companies are coming here. That is one thing for sure. That's for sure. But yeah. Oh, you have a question? Yeah. How much do they expect you to know? Nothing. Nada. Nothing. If you know a little bit of Java, right? Then yeah, that's all you need to know. So at least for Facebook University, yeah. So if you have like a project or something, that really helps, because for the Facebook University interview, so that entire process in itself is just like you have to submit like your high school transcripts, you have to submit your current college transcripts, because they don't really, there's not really too much college information. They're not, how you're like a freshman, how much have you really done, right? So they ask for your high school as well to see, maybe you might be a good fit. They ask for that kind of information, your resume, and then they give you a small coding interview, and then there's one interview, and it's a behavioral interview. So there's no, at least, it might be different for Explore. There's a technical interview for that. For Facebook University, there's no technical interview. Actually, yeah.
No, I was going to say, isn't there a pre-assignment, like 70 minutes?
There is, yeah. There is a coding challenge, like I had mentioned, which is before the interview. But to be honest, I bombed it. I remember I left it after. I was like, oh shit, that didn't go well. Oh god, time to start applying to other places. But thankfully, they weren't too critical. Yeah. So, and there was that behavioral interview, and then I'd gotten it, I guess. So yeah, that was that. There was that, and the actual internship in itself, they teach you Android development from scratch for 3 weeks, and then at the end they expect for you to make an app by the end of the internship, basically. So yeah, so there's specific internships that you can go in as a freshman or sophomore. If you don't know anything, that's fine. But the one thing, it's an investment for Facebook, right? Or it's an investment for Microsoft. So you have to still show that even though you don't really know anything, you still have drive. So that's why I mentioned before, be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Try out projects, try out hackathons, because Facebook still did ask me about the projects that I had done. Even though I didn't, I was still new, like I tried. That's really all they're asking for at the end of the day. Are you trying? Are you putting an effort to learn, even if you don't really know anything? Yeah. So that's what it ended up being for me. I also did an interview with State Farm, like Danny had mentioned. I did that. It was pretty much a behavioral interview. Actually, there are a lot of companies that do behavioral interviews. So if you guys are not 100% too good with your technical interviews, there's still a shot with your behaviorals. But the technical, as CS gets more and more competitive, it's more important that you hone your technical side. So be comfortable with doing leak code. At least the easies, lower medium will get you into most companies. But if you're aiming for FANG, be comfortable with leak code mediums, lower hards, more so mediums. Yeah, and just to continue, so I had done an interview at State Farm. I had actually gotten that interview. Don't know how. But I got an offer for that, right? But then afterwards, I had gone, literally a week later, I got an email from Facebook. They were like, hey, we want to interview you. And I'm like, what? I failed that coding assessment, but sure. And then later, I had gotten the offer from Facebook. So then I had to drop State Farm and then do Facebook, which was a whole awkward kind of mess. But you know what? It was worth it at the end of the day. It was worth. Fast forward a little bit, I had done the internship, just as I explained. So I ended up getting the return offer from that internship, actually, to go directly back to Facebook for a suite. And there was no interview, no anything. So if you guys are freshman or sophomore, it's a really good opportunity, because I heard Facebook technical interview is a bit challenging. I personally wouldn't know. I never did one. But yeah, that's that. And then did the suite internship. And that internship was basically a whole technical interview on its own for like a whole 12 weeks. And then after doing that internship, I did more Android development, which I had learned a year before. I ended up getting the full-time offer for Facebook. yeah, so that's just kind of a little bit speed run about me. Anyone have any questions before I pass on to someone else? Thank you. LeetCode, that's a great question. So LeetCode is a website that posts popular kind of programming problems that you could expect to see at companies. So and then they're categorized from like easy, medium, and hard. Although when you're first looking at problems, they will be, you might think, aren't these already hard already? But it's all kind of relative. If you're getting into LeetCode and you find it a bit challenging, one thing that I did that personally helped me was going onto a website called CodingBat. CodingBat's really good. It gives you kind of a perspective on interview style problems, but if you're still not confident with your technical problems, it's basically like LeetCode, but for really, really, really beginners. So if you're still learning like even if statements, if you're still learning like how to do switch statements, little complex kind of knowledge, codingbat.com. Really good. There's Java and Python if you're into Python, but I don't know about that, But that's something I would suggest. And then work your way up to doing LeetCode. One thing that helped me in the interview grind is being consistent with the LeetCode. That's really one important thing as well. If you're serious about the grind, if you really want this, then you have to try to be consistent, right? Try to do at least one problem a day. If there's a time that in the day that that you'll be able to do a problem, whether it's you get up in the morning or before you go to sleep, set a time when you could do a problem. And then make sure you do a problem. Give yourself only 30 minutes to do it. Because in an interview, you're not going to get 3 hours to do an interview, right? You want to time yourself. You want to pace yourself enough to getting a problem down in just the time that will be required in the interview. So give yourself 30 minutes. You can't figure it out, don't kill yourself over it. Just look up the solution, go back to it another day. And then, keep doing that over and over and over, and trust me, your LeetCode skills will improve. Yeah. That's a little bit for what I have to say for now. Anyone have any questions? Yep.
All right. Thank you, Azar. So the interview process for Microsoft Explorer, starts off with a phone interview, which is behavioral, and that question I told you was actually one of the questions they asked me as well. I didn't sign an NDA, so I can tell you both of them. How would you explain the internet to a child? They asked me that question over the phone. They also asked me what data structure would I use for a dictionary. That's another question they asked me, which is a hash map. After, or a dictionary, if you're using Python, a dictionary. Okay, anyways. So after the phone interview, you're going to have a technical interview where you have to share your screen and you face-to-face, not face-to-face, camera to camera, of course. With the interviewer, they ask you 2 technical questions. At least they asked me 2 technical questions. First one was going back to what Azar said, like an easy or medium LeetCode. Again, I didn't sign an NDA, I can tell you. It's counting the frequency of characters within a string. So you have to go over that, which is the same thing, a hash map. It was that question. They also asked me for space and time complexity. And then after that, it was immediately another technical interview question with a different interviewer. And then that one was the thread ones that I said before, that you have to use multiple threads to solve the question. So that's pretty much it, to be honest with you. It's just 1 phone behavioral and then 2 technical interview questions. I also met with 2 people from the team I got assigned to. I'm not sure. You might have a interview with different people from different teams just to see where they can land you. Because after you pass the technical interview, they have to figure out where they want to place you in terms of teams, which is also pretty tricky. Because they say you do pass the technical interview, but they have no positions open in any team. They're not going to accept you, which really sucks. But that could happen. But other than that, that's pretty much it. No, like for only behavior interview. No. Yeah. Well, I can only talk from my experience, but yeah, it was 2 technical interviews. So I feel like that's their thing. Yeah.
So the Explorer program, that's the stuff you did, right? And that's for freshmen, sophomores only, if I'm correct.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I'm guessing if you're applying as a junior or senior, then the interview process is going to be much more competitive and
Yes.
maybe more different.
100%.
Okay.
You're gonna be applying for a regular software engineer internship for Microsoft. Harder questions and much more competitive. Exactly how you said.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's it. Any more questions? No. Well, the,
This isn't really specific to like your experience, but you mentioned that if there's no more spots left in the team, then they won't accept you.
Yeah.
I've heard that happen with like other companies as well.
yeah.
Do you have any clue like why they keep interviewing people if all the spots are filled?
They
up?
don't know. Because remember, it's
They don't know.
actually, yeah, this happened to me because I also interviewed for MongoDB, which is a database company. The recruiter told me that, hey, your interview is for this date, but just letting you know, we might not have any positions for you after you take your interview. That's why it's also very key when they want to interview you, try to pick the closest interview date as possible. Because if you push all the way to the end because you want to give yourself time to study or to practice, you could be screwing yourself over. And by that time you actually get that interview, all the positions are filled and you're just wasting your time. Well, not really, because let's say you do good, they might reach out to you next fall or summer or whatever. But still, for that year, you're not going to have an internship. Yeah. So try to do it. Like right now is a really good time to do it. Mostly all of them have some interviews going on right now.
So how do you cause Mongo, the one that you said,
Yeah.
I never heard about that. So how do I find out about those really
Yeah.
companies that I don't really know about?
Yeah, that's a great question actually. I interviewed for them because that's the database I was using. So I knew the company and I was interested in their product. And I told myself, hey, let's see if they have an internship, which they did. And they also came to FIU to talk. It was virtual, but they still came to FIU to talk. And she put me on top of the queue. She took my resume and put it on top of the queue. And the next day she sent me an email. But for small companies like that, I think they give a resource. What was it?
Oh well, yeah. There's actually a list, or there's a lot of lists online. If you look up like software engineering internships or computer science internships, either one. If you go to like the second or third result on Google, it'll say like PITT, like PITT, which is Pittsburgh CSC. It's like their computer science department. It has a really, really long list on GitHub, which has like all types of companies. It has really big tech companies and also like smaller companies. But there's a lot of similar lists.
What is it? PITT?
You guys are on Discord for GDSC. We have a channel called Opportunity, and we do
Okay.
post like links for all the internships and stuff. So there are particular lists out there with all the sweet internships, upcoming sweet internships. So look out for those. And if you scroll up, actually you can see some of them.
So also specifically that, for example, you asked about MongoDB. I did not know about their existence until I went to a career fair here at FIU. And I learned about it through Handshake. I'm sure you guys know what Handshake is. And if not, Google that immediately, please. And it's basically FIU's LinkedIn. And I did not know who they were, but they had like 101s. That's what they're doing right now through things online. And I talked to the lady, and she said that everyone who went and talked to her and asked her questions, she was giving them a form that immediately, if you apply, they were going to put you at the top of the list to like check out your application. So I do recommend you go to this type of career fairs and like try and think of the most interesting and random questions that you can ask the interviewer to stand out, so maybe you can get the opportunity to be put at the top. Like, for example, also when I also applied for Microsoft Explorer, and I knew this girl who was working for Microsoft, and there also was a list that if you put your resume in there, like whatever, they're going to put you at the top, and it worked pretty much. So like network, that's all I can say.
Okay. Oh wait. First off, this is a list, by the way. So PITT, CSS, CSC.
We can send it after the meeting.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that right now. We're also gonna send it in our Discord in case you want the direct link to it. But the thing I wanted to add as well is, let's say you did get an internship already with a company, and you also get an internship for another company, and you like that other company a little bit more, you could cancel that first internship. That's exactly what I did with Microsoft. I was lined up to have an internship. Azar did it too with State Farm. Didn't mean to like call you out if that's how you feel. I had one lined up with Cisco, but of course I got Microsoft, and Microsoft was my dream company. So I told my Cisco recruiter, there we go. My Cisco recruiter, I told her, hey, I got another offer that I like more, and unfortunately I cannot be an intern for Cisco. It was the most weird email I've ever sent. And they never replied to me. I feel like they hate me now, but I don't care, to be honest with you.
You're blacklisted, bro.
Yeah, I'm blacklisted from Cisco, yeah.
Blacklisted from State Farm.
Although I heard it's really bad because if that recruiter moves to another company, you're also blacklisted from there if they remember you. But the chances of that happening is pretty low.
Follow your dreams, follow your dreams.
If they work at Microsoft and they remember me, wow. Let's not even go there.
Does that mean I'm blacklisted from Google?
Yeah.
No.
Oh no!
Okay, sorry.
Dude, if they work at Google, we're just gonna like.
Yeah, we're closing down, guys. Sorry. Okay, no, but okay. In reality, yeah, don't be afraid to cancel one internship for the other. Go with whichever internship you like the most, and whichever company you want to work at, because this is your career and this is your future. And that's one of the things you should be focusing on. You shouldn't be, oh, but I feel bad. No, don't think like that. They really don't care, to be honest with you. If they did, they would have added it to your contract. But I'm like 99% sure your contract does not say that you could not move to another company once you accept it.
What's that 1% of?
I don't know, man.
You're pretty sure?
But yeah, I just wanted to add that in case you did have two lined up. Yeah.
So I shouldn't be scared to get blacklisted?
I got blacklisted by
No.
How do you know?
because I ended up getting like a front end role with JP Morgan, and as soon as so I ended up getting a front end internship with JP Morgan, and it was kind of like a last minute thing, and not even like 2 days later I got the email and I accepted it and everything, and I sent a full email saying thank you, this and that, and then not even 2 days later, like Walmart sent me a message saying like, hey, you got the internship, and Walmart it's been Fortune #1 for like the past 9 years consecutively, and so I was like, I'm going with Walmart. And so now, and then the recruiter told me that he was going to get the location to be in Orlando, like to get me as close as possible to home, and then he pulled some strings. And so, and I just said immediately, I just sent a message saying like, hey, I'm canceling my internship. Thank you, bye. That's exactly my exact words. I mean, it was worth it.
Yeah, just make sure not to burn bridges, right? Just make sure, you have to remember, it is not fun for recruiters because, they work on that kind of stuff, how many people they get hired and so on. So, like, they have ways to fix it, right? So they have plenty of people, but just keep in mind for the recruiter, that's not good. They have to resend the contract and all that. But anyways, I was going to say that I also had to reject an internship for. Yeah. So don't be scared, but weigh what you want, because in reality that's what it is. I had gone into the Google Computer Science, like Summer's Computer Science Institute or whatever. I know you might be calling me crazy for rejecting Google. I know, I thought the same. It was a very, very difficult decision. But in the end, my research internship was longer. It was actually in person rather than virtual, but it was a lot longer. And I thought that my skills were better used there because it was in artificial intelligence, which is really like what I love to do. and also they took forever to send me my acceptance. Like I had already signed all the stuff for my research internship, so that's really on them. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, but you. Yeah, no, I know. But you know, like obviously, don't ghost them, for sure not. Like, do not ghost them. You know, keep them, communicate with them, keep them updated. Thank them for, you know, all the work that they've done. And yeah, I was gonna ask. So, is anybody interested in research or, you know, thought about it? Any raise of hands?
Add something real quick.
Yeah.
About accepting internships. I find it funny because, like, personally, in my experience, I had a whole month to accept my internship. So, I don't know how it's.
I had 1 week.
You had 1 week. I had a whole month. So apply to Amazon, guys. They gave me a whole week. Like, you can decide throughout not whole week, like a whole month, if I want to accept or not. You gotta check that. I mean, if you're waiting for an acceptance for another company, I would say try to stretch it out as much as you can if you would rather work at somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I wish I did. I had literally 1 week to answer. So. Yeah.
Don't let them reject you. You reject them.
No, that's a very fortunate position to be in. But so anybody interested in research? I know Laz had his hand up. Yes, a little bit. I know it seems a little less interesting than industry. But like I was saying, what I did is I worked on computational neuroscience. I am not a neuroscientist by any means, so I had to learn that on the go. And I just thought the entire experience was really, really wonderful experience. And the industry and academia is completely different. You know, like in industry, you're working on your skills like Python and all the, well, not Python specifically, but like all the languages and then the frameworks. While in research, you're using them, but you're really going towards a different goal. You know, you might be developing a product in industry, but in research you're trying to get a paper published or a poster accepted to a conference. And so with that in mind, maybe if you're thinking about, you know, how does it differ in interviews, right? I had no technical interviews, no behaviorals. I got very lucky. It was literally my entire resume and a couple of writing prompts. Not fun. I really don't like those. But you know, a lot of the programs that you apply to, like STEP and so on, they can have writing prompts sometimes. But yeah.
Like Walmart didn't give me like a behavioral interview. Well, they did actually. It was like a three-step interview. I actually had to do. They gave me a prompt, right? And then they gave me two options. They either told me to create a GUI, Java GUI with an application to create a movie theater app, and that dispenses tickets, right? And so, ironically, I was actually learning how to create a GUI in Java, and so it just kind of like fit in. And they give you 24 hours, so you have to like step it up. And then I actually went overboard, and then the other option was to create like an API using like GitHub, but that one looked a lot more complicated. And so I ended up actually not creating the the movie theater app. I actually ended up going over and above, and I created an exe file with the GUI app that actually dispensed like virtual tickets. And so when my interviewer looked at my code, he's like, "This is not what I asked, but this is great." And so he told me, he's like, "I'm putting you to step 2. Like, that's it."
This is not what I asked. You're done. You're done.
His words were, "This is not what I asked, but I like it."
So you had a heart attack.
Yeah.
But in general, any questions in general, industry, research, application-wise, interview-wise, anything, very important.
Nobody else has questions? I actually wanted to ask something.
Mhm.
Just in general to you guys, because
Yeah.
You mentioned the thing about blacklisting. Actually, I heard that was illegal. So do you guys know?
Really?
You guys know?
I don't know.
No, my question was like, you guys know if there's actually like an actual list of names? 'Cause I feel like when people say
It's just a joke.
It's just so, yeah.
Yeah,
It's just a joke. Just so you guys know,
yeah.
when you hear blacklisting, that's kind of just like not an actual thing like a list. It's more
No.
like, oh well, this guy accepted our offer, then he rejected it. So I guess we don't
It's
like
like-
this student. Maybe let's not.
Yeah.
But it's not. There's not an actual list. It's just-
Well, but keep in mind, like, there have been people that send joke resumes, and I don't know if they call it blacklisting, but if, for example, you send in like a resume to waste their time, like I have heard of people just, I don't know if you'd call it blacklisting, but yeah.
I actually found out that the reason why they do kind of put you in a list, and the reason why it's because recruiters actually the company actually spends a lot of money for you to even get that interview. So that means that it's a whole process where you get pre-qualified, and then they open up a spot for you, and a lot of money goes into that interview itself. You guys might not think of it, but there's a lot of money that goes into it. So if you were to waste their time, you're wasting the recruiter's money's time, because that's how they get paid. And so think about it,
That also means you're worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
If you get to that step. But all right. Yeah, sure. And if there's questions online, let me know.
Hello guys, I'm the mobile tech lead in GDSC. I just wanted to say, whoever's a senior here or a junior and they're stressed out about to get an internship, trust me, I'm a senior and I just learned technically coding not even 6 months ago. I've been in this campus or in university for 3 years, didn't learn jack shit, start from coding bad, and then grinded lead code all summer. Yeah. Hello. Yeah. Right? But honestly, right now I'm applying for internships, right? Don't stress it though. Even if you're not getting internship, at the end of the day, make sure you have a presentable resume. Work on the projects. Do not neglect project outside of your classroom. Just because at the end of the day, once you graduate, that's what they're going to be looking at as well. Because at the end of the day, they'll be looking at your resume, right? Even if you don't have great internships or you don't have internships at all, if you don't have projects either, I'm sorry, you would have to take like 6 or 9 months after graduation to actually get a job. Like I knew someone who relied on university 100%, did not study outside of classroom, and he took about an year and a half to get a job after graduation in CS. Started with a pay of $40K as a CS major. How upsetting is that? Because, at the end of the day, we are thinking, okay, I'm studying in a great university, I will end up with a job. But that's not the reality here. So I just wanted to say, whoever's a senior, whoever's a junior, it's not too late, but do prioritize your projects apart from applying for internships. Thank you. Oh, is there? Yes.
What is your opinion about? Well, I think you were the one that interned in research, right? Yeah. So, what do you think is your opinion about like going into academia? Although after let's say you get your PhD, you can start in with a higher paying job, as if you were to just go from graduate right into industry. Well, what do you think about that? Yeah, that is a very good point. For me specifically, it's right. I want to do AI, so a lot of the jobs require a master's and PhDs, right? Like it's kind of like a lot of the applications. But to answer your question, I think academia is difficult to go into, right? Because you think, well, really there's two main branches, which is one, you become a professor, which some people do like. Personally, I don't as much. But there's then the other branch, which is that you can do research for a company. Like Facebook does a lot of research. Like in AI, they have a whole lab that's very well known, and other companies as well. But I think that's really a personal choice that you have to make. I would say try a bit of both. That's why this summer I'm trying to get a job in the industry to really see how it's different, which ones I prefer most. And that choice it's not an easy one. You know, I think it really depends on you and what you're pursuing and what makes you happy. So do you think that answers it a bit? Or? Okay, perfect.
So what was the day-to-day like for research?
Oh, okay, well, for me it was difficult because normally there was a bit of issues with the whole program. They introduced a lot of new people that weren't actually part of the program, but they were part of the host institution that I was in. And the issue was that the people from the program, it was an extremely selective program. I mean, there was only 10 acceptances and there were thousands of applications. So the people that got in, they knew their stuff. Like I felt like an idiot. I mean, my roommate, he's a really good friend of mine. He was, or like my roommate when I was there, he was working like on a NASA rover and stuff at like Northeastern. I was just like, okay. But my day-to-day was a bit different because my team did not know how to program. So oftentimes I was teaching them how to program, and I had to, you know, do all the data cleaning and all that. So my day-to-day would be that, you know, I was working like the entire day. I had my own hours, but it was, you know, going to go code, look at a lot of previous papers to try to get an idea, and then, you know, implementing, making the systems, because you want your results to be reproducible, right? So you have to make sure that your code isn't hard-coded. You want to make sure that you keep in mind people, other researchers might want to introduce their data and so on, right? So I don't know if that gives you a bit of more sense. It's very variable in research. I don't know if industry is different. Bye, Martin. But yeah, any more questions?
We do have a couple
Online ones? Yes.
So you guys talked about summer internships. What about fall internships?
Yes. So I've never done a fall internship, so I don't know if I have the best experience. If you want to talk, Clement. Our VP is actually doing one right now with Amazon. So I think fall is very similar to summer, all like in the sense that the internship is still, you know, an internship. You have to apply to it prior. Some people apply like in spring. I think that's like the optimal time. You apply in spring and get in fall. But oftentimes people have to like postpone their classes or take their classes in the summer rather than fall. But that also means that, I do know a big difference. And correct me if I'm wrong, but summer, there's a lot more positions than in fall. So applying in fall can be really good, but they have less positions to fill. But yeah, I think, yeah, right? That's what I've always been told. Does that, yeah?
Yeah, that's one.
Yeah.
Oh, so we have a question here though.
Oh yeah, of course.
Did any of you do like any online classes during your summer?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You. That's crazy. Here, I'll bring it to.
Yeah, please don't. Try not to if you could, because I just kind of forgot sometimes that they even existed, you know. Like even taking like an easy ass class like not intro to computing. I'm taking that now. Whatever. What happened? Geology. You forget that class exists. Meteorology. Shout out meteorology. I had no idea. There was some other class, but yeah, even if you think it's going to be an easy class, you really want to put your 100% into the internship, because you want to try to really get that return offer. You know, it makes your life easier if you can get that return offer. I mean, maybe you could handle it, but just keep that in mind that when you do an internship, it's basically like a job at the same time too. You're putting in a 9 to 5. and maybe even extra hours. Like for me, the internship experience was, I had to do more than a 9 to 5 quite often. Like sometimes I would have to do extra research into, even I was familiar with Android development from beforehand. There was such a there was a big jump that I had to do, a big learning curve that I had to spend extra time researching and looking into like code online and code that other people wrote within the company just to understand what I was looking at, so keep that in mind. That's what I would say.
Right, and then something else I want to add: if you are going to be taking summer classes, make sure one of them is in the first half and then the other in the second half. So, thank you. So you don't. That's delayed. So you don't have two of them at the same time, because that will just kill you. Just try to space them out. The first half one class, second half the other half, and of course go for easy classes if you can.
But it's really not recommended, right?
No, no. If you can, don't. But if you have, for example, the scholarship, you have to.
Yeah, there are a lot of people who do take classes, but like my contract specifically stated that I cannot be taking other classes. However, I know people from my program that were taking classes, so I wouldn't have taken it anyways. I think like as I was saying, you really want to make sure that you're showing your skills off and getting that return offer. So okay, let's get to some of the online ones, because I don't want to ignore them. I got you. Yeah, let us see. Which one was true? Okay. Yeah. Okay, Willie, this is for you, and also for you guys. I'll repeat the question. So the question is: any advice for someone who is a full-time employee but needs to get internship experience? One that's actually a really good position to be in. If you have a job already, it's normally easier to get a job. But anybody have some real experience with that? Being a full-time employee looking for an internship? No? Anybody? No? Yeah, but I'm guessing that what Willie meant was
working employee to looking for an internship.
Yeah, like getting out of the full time into an internship.
Isn't internship only for students though?
He's a student. So Willie's a student, but he works for a retail or something like that.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you're good. No, actually keep in mind, some of the jobs here in FIU are more part-time, right? Because they know you're a student. But it's almost like a similar type of thing, I would say, which is one that's quite good, because if you're doing good in that company and you have good references from that company, it shows them you're actually doing it, right? So that you have to remember, a recruiter is always trying to think, what benefit would you bring to your company? To their company, and being able to surpass that, I don't know if they can do in a professional environment, could be very beneficial. So I hope that answers your question, Willie. But if you have more, ask, or you can always ask in our Discord. If you think after this you're like, oh shoot, I should have mentioned something, or you're shy and you don't want to say it right now, we're always down to help in Discord.
Feel free to DM as well if you're
True.
try to speak out here.
Yeah.
I wanted to say also, this is my name. You can add me on LinkedIn.
Yes. Actually, yeah. If you don't have LinkedIn, please get it. Extremely important that you start getting those connections going. That's actually the best way to reach out to recruiters. Is normally LinkedIn, and that's the best way to get an interview, because they know who you are, and they can put you on the stack or whatever. But yeah, add any of us. I believe that we're all on LinkedIn, so just search our names. I'll accept you.
You're off the grid?
Yeah. Okay, Lazaro is really off the grid, but you have a LinkedIn?
No, I didn't. It's gone.
It's gone.
Yeah.
I just passed 300. I just passed 1,300 people, and I broke the
Oh.
algorithm last week.
How?
So here's the thing.
No, it just only shows 500 plus once you get more than 500.
So here's a really cool thing that a PhD student from Lockheed Martin told me. He told me that if I really want to get to be known across like companies in tech, to break the 1,000 mark, right? And to first go for the 500, then break the 1,000 mark, and there's a few ways that you can complete. I'm not gonna say them here, but there's a few ways that you can complete the quizzes, and that give you like the checks for your skills, and you basically increase like your levels of like popularity among like tech companies, like from here to like here. I'm not gonna talk about it because yeah, but just contact me after and then we can talk about it, okay?
I just want you to know he's never told us that. So thanks, Manny. I want this, you know. Nah.
Handshake is very important. I know it seems like not because like
Yeah.
it's FIU stuff, but like Amazon reached out to me both through Handshake and LinkedIn, but they reached to Handshake first of a difference of like 2 weeks. And in 2 weeks, there's a lot of people that can or cannot be hired. That could be you or not. So the spots go filling up. So it's better to just have everything that you can.
Yeah. This entire time I've just been thinking about how I have a lot of applications I need to submit, like the FVU one. But Laz, you wanna end it? I think.
So I know this went on for a long time. It was originally supposed to be an hour, and Daniel was worried that we can't reach an hour, but now it's been like an hour and 45. So it's been a long time. There's some chips in the back if you guys can get it if you want, if you're hungry or whatever. We're still probably gonna hang out here a little bit longer, so come up to us if you want. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this is the end of the event. I want to thank you guys for letting us flex all our skills and stuff like that. We really appreciate it. Hopefully you guys learned something new and chips.
We never said, but we have chips.
No, I said we had chips.
Oh really?
Yeah, I said it.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
Yeah. The chips back there. Well, okay. Thank you guys. Hopefully you learned something.